Well, guys, it is January 9th. We're about a week out from the end of bow season. We've only got a few days left. Got out a little bit late this morning. It's a little after 8 o'clock. Saw a few deer moving on the way in, and I'm sitting down on the bottom, not the bottom, but the middle of a little ridge line. Earlier this year, I shot a doe pretty well straight up this fence line, about 200 yards in the early season. And so there's a fence line, as you can see behind me right here, that runs onto the neighbors and then onto this guy's property that I have permission to hunt, which is about 80, 90 acres. The weather today was freezing at sunrise, so below 30, about 31, I think, this morning. It is about a little after 8 o'clock, so I'm going to assume that it's probably a little over freezing right now, about 32, 33. It's supposed to get up in the mid-50s this afternoon. The property has a lot of acorns on it. In fact, up behind me a little ways is a pretty good flat of white oak acorns. And so I'm hoping that maybe I'll catch some coming through here. The neighbor's property is fairly thick, and there's also some thick stuff behind me as well. I've not had a chance to scout this whole area. So I don't have a real good feel for where exactly bedding is on this property. I've only hunted it a couple times this year. And so I'll be honest with you, I didn't put in the time to get the scouting done like I probably should have. So I'm looking at trails going in and out of the property, and I've got the wind at my back growing across to the neighbor's property. So we'll see what happens. marking tool to make sure I'm tracking and marking all the spots that I find. Might take a little bit. I'm not going to do the whole property today. There's a couple fence rows that I'm going to walk, as you can see behind me there. It cuts all the way through the property, and then it opens up into a big pasture. And if I make a loop around, I will end back up on the trail that I was hunting this morning. So it just makes a big square here. I'm going to try to walk a few spots, see if I can find some crossings over the fence rows, and see if I can find some spots to mark for future hunting and into next year, some crossing areas. And then from there I can start working my way back through the property in February and end of January and start pegging deer trails and maybe some bedding areas. So that's my goal today, is just to do a perimeter walk, see if I can mark the crossing areas that the deer are using, and go from there. So just walking past a couple of spots here, you can see out ahead of me, it gets thicker. That way, up along the edge of the field is fairly thick. And I just passed an old scrape, which I know is not active currently, and a couple of older rubs from maybe November. Might have had some activity after November. One of them was a pretty decent sized scrape, or a decent sized rub, on a tree that was about 3 to 4 inches in diameter. So there's definitely deer movement through here. What I'm trying to peg is where. Like I said, I have not hunted this property but about a year, and last year we came in 2 or 3 times during rifle season and hunted the edge of the fields, had several good encounters, had a good buck that my son took a shot at and missed. I ended up shooting 2 young deer, a doe and a button buck, during rifle season, all in the same night. There was definitely good action in this area. Now this year I did not get a chance to rifle hunt in here because there was other people hunting. But during bow season, if I could get in here early, I think I would have some good luck. So there's the pasture, or that's the fence line at the very far end, and if we go all the way back down through there, it's pasture in between where I'm standing and the other side of the property. Now there is another set of woods on the other side of this, and when we were here last year, there was a lot of activity back here on the top of this hill, which we didn't really think there was a good way to get in here. Now that I have time to walk the property a little more, you can see there is a side-by-side trail that basically runs all the way around this property, which makes sense on why the deer were traveling across the top of this hill 450, 600 yards away from where we had set up our blind. So depending on what the road access back here gives me, how close I can get, we might be able to set up a blind or something back here along this fence row, shooting into that area. I found a couple of decent buck rubs down in here, about 30 yards, 40 yards off of this tree line. And if you go back through the woods where I was taking video earlier, I found several spots that I consider bedding. Now once we get some good winter weather, maybe we'll get in here and check it out. So I'm going to walk, you can see behind me there, the fence row goes straight out in front of me. I'm going to walk this fence row, and I know there's a couple of trails leading from the fence row into the woods, but I'm going to walk the fence row and see if I can find some spots that might have hair on them, or maybe have a low spot in them that the deer are coming under, because I want to mark some spots that I think deer are going to be using, and then see if there's a way that I can walk in on this fence line depending on the winds, either in the morning or in the afternoon, and try to catch deer coming and going. So I'm going to walk this. This will be pretty much the last part of my video. guys here in about 300 yards. I'm going to be back where I was hunting this morning, and I kind of have a general idea where the deer were coming across this morning, so that gives me some things to work on, to do some e-scouting at home. But then the first good snow, maybe come in here and actually get some scouting done with some boots on the ground again. So stay tuned to the channel, guys. If you haven't hit subscribe yet on my channel, I know I'm a new channel. I know I'm not a professional hunter, but I definitely hope that you can learn some things from my mistakes as well as my experiences from a novice point of view. And give me some feedback in the comments below on maybe some of the things that you saw from this video that maybe I could do better, or that I may have walked past and missed. Or maybe just give me some feedback on some things that you would like to see from a novice perspective, and I'll try to fill that in for you guys and give you some content as we move through the spring and starting to set up some new food plots. So stay tuned, guys.